When you're replacing or upgrading your router, one of the biggest hassles is once the new router is set up, you have to go to all of your wireless devices and you have to reconnect them to your new router's Wi-Fi network. Well, what if I told you you could skip this step and save yourself some time? What I'm talking about here is if you set your Wi-Fi network name and password on your new router to be exactly the same as what it was on your old router, all of your devices will automatically reconnect to the new device. See, what happens is when your devices wirelessly connect to the internet, they're doing it through the Wi-Fi network that your router is broadcasting. The only thing your devices care about, however, is that they have the Wi-Fi network name and the password that allows them to use that Wi-Fi network. They don't care about the underlying hardware, the router that's broadcasting the Wi-Fi network. That doesn't matter to them. And this is what allows you to change out your old router for a new router with the same Wi-Fi network name and password without any interruption. So what does this look like? Let's run through an example. So here what we have, this is our old router. It's going to be replaced by this new router. And right now this old router is connected to my modem and this is active in my home network. This is broadcasting a Wi-Fi signal. Now before we switch over to the new router, there are a few things we want to collect from this old router, namely the Wi-Fi network name and password. There's one other additional thing I want to show you, so I'm going to access my old router settings to show you that. If you already know the exact Wi-Fi network names and passwords that your old router is broadcasting, you can skip this step. Otherwise, you can log into your settings as well and follow along with what I'm about to show you. At this point, I'm going to assume that you know how to get to your router settings, but if you're not sure how to do this, I'll include a link in the description with a video that I previously made that details how to do this. So let's dive right in. Here we are in my router settings, and this is the router I'm going to be replacing. What we care about are the Wi-Fi network names and passwords that this device is broadcasting. So here we want to go into the wireless settings. As you can see here, I have a separate Wi-Fi network for my 2.4 gigahertz wireless network and my 5 gigahertz wireless network. And what we want to do, we want to make sure we copy the exact name of the Wi-Fi network name, as well as the exact password. Now it's really important that you get all the punctuation correct. When you enter this into your new router, it needs to be exactly the same as what you see here. Otherwise, your devices won't be able to automatically reconnect to your new router's Wi-Fi network. Another thing to make note of here is if you have Wi-Fi Smart Connect enabled, and you're only broadcasting one Wi-Fi network, that's the Wi-Fi network name and password that you'll want to record. And you'll also want to make sure on your new router that you also set up Wi-Fi Smart Connect so you only have one Wi-Fi network. Whatever the case might be, if you have one or multiple Wi-Fi networks that your old router is broadcasting, record the network name and password, and then we can move on to the new router. Now before we do that, one thing I just want to show you is here under the network map, it will show you the number of devices that are currently connected to the router that you'll be replacing. So here, if I go down here, it looks like I have 3 devices connected to this router. What we want to make sure of is once we move over to the new router and set up the Wi-Fi network name and password, we should have the same number of devices automatically connected to that new router. So just make a note of this. If you have 3 devices, great. Let's see if we can get 3 devices automatically connected to the new router after we set it up. Now that we have this information from the router that we'll be replacing, what we can do is we can swap out to the new router. So what we need to do is remove the power from our old router. So I'll remove the power cable. This router is connected to my modem with an Ethernet cable. We're going to disconnect that. And then what you can do is turn your modem off. And once you turn your modem off, you can take this Ethernet cable, connect it to the WAN port on your new router, and then you power on your modem, and then power on your router, and then we can take on the next steps from there. Once your router has fully booted, we can now go into the settings and go through the setup of this device to make sure that the Wi-Fi network name and password is the same as what we had on our old router. Okay, so it's important to remember that this new router at this point doesn't have the Wi-Fi network name and password that we want to set up for it. It will have a default wireless network name and password. You can find that information on the sticker on the bottom of the router. What we need to do is we need to connect to that Wi-Fi network in order to access this new router settings. What I'm going to do, come down here to wireless networks, available. Here it is, TP-Link D26C 5G. We want to connect to that. All right, now we're connected. Don't worry about the fact that it says no internet secured. That's just because we haven't gone through the initial setup of this new router yet. So what we need to do now, we need to access the settings of our new router. Again, if you need a detailed video on how to do that, I'll include that in the description. But basically, this information will be on the informational sticker on the bottom of the router as well. It will tell you where to go to access your router settings. So I'm going to go there now. Once you go to the location of your new router settings, you're going to need to create a password. This is the password that you need to use to access your router settings. So enter one in here and then select Let's Get Started. We have our password in, let's get started. Okay, now we need to walk through the steps for the initial setup of our new router. So just fill out this information as it pertains to you. For me, my time is Eastern time. Next. For this, I'll go with auto detect. Okay, it fills it out for me. We hit next. I'm going to use the default MAC address. Next. And here's where it's most important, because here's where we enter our Wi-Fi network names and passwords. As you'll remember, on my old router, I did not have Wi-Fi Smart Connect enabled, so I want to disable this. I want to set each band separately. I had a separate 2G and 5G Wi-Fi network. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that there's two distinct Wi-Fi network names. And now you enter the Wi-Fi network names and passwords from your old router. I need to stress this again. It's extremely important that the Wi-Fi network names and passwords that you enter here are exactly the same as they were on your old router. So capitalization needs to be the same. You want to make sure there are no spaces at the end of either the password or the Wi-Fi network name. Make sure they're exactly the same as they were on your old router. Once you're sure of that, select next. And now your router will go through a reboot process where it will start broadcasting the new Wi-Fi networks that you just selected. Once that setup is complete, we can select next. After a few minutes, you'll start to see your devices automatically reconnect to your new router. As you can see here on the network map of our new router, we have those same 3 devices automatically connected, and that's because the Wi-Fi network names and passwords are exactly the same as they were on our old router. At this point, there are no further steps you need to take. You've fully transitioned over to your new router, and your devices should all have automatically reconnected to it. I know that this method is a huge time saver for me when I'm upgrading or replacing my router, but let me know in the comments section if you were able to follow these steps and it saved you some time when making this switch. As always, thanks for checking out this episode from Network from Home, and we'll catch you on the next one.